Alright, my video on smart guns. I originally thought this was a good topic to cover because there's a lot to talk about and it would make a good video, but there's actually too much to talk about. And my videos tend to be long-winded anyway, so I'm going to try and keep this one short and simple. And I'll present you with the supposed benefits of smart guns and how they can be turned against the owner, the user, the legal owner and user. First off, the idea is that you put some device into a gun that somehow makes it safer through recognition of an authorized owner and user. So, for instance, in 1975, they created a magnetic ring system where, as long as you were wearing the magnetic ring, this is not one of them, it's just my wedding ring, but as long as you were wearing the ring and you were holding it in the right place where you would to shoot a gun, it would repel an object in the handle of the revolver itself and allow you to fire. Well, in 2002, New Jersey passed a law stating that within 5 years they had to have smart gun technology, and then within 3 years after that they had to have every gun sold in the state equipped with smart gun technology. It's admirable, and the goal, of course, is to keep criminals from using guns, or teens from committing suicide with them, or toddlers from accidentally discharging the firearm. Now, safeties have been built into guns since almost as long as guns have existed, because we realize they're dangerous things, they need to be treated well. And even in things like this revolver with no active safety, it's got that transfer bar right there that moves out of the way that keeps it from firing. It is unloaded, by the way. That keeps it from firing if it's dropped. So it's at least drop safe. You'll be hard-pressed to find a revolver that actually involves a safety for most revolvers out there. But, the Colt 1911, it's not drop safe, but the only way it can go off is if you drop it muzzle first. So you're shooting the ground. I mean, hopefully you're not on the second floor, but again, that was a weapon designed over 100 years ago. So guns already have safeties. Some of them, like the Beretta 92, have at least 3 that I can think of. 3 different safety features. They already exist. Now they want to put additional safety features, and all of it is electronics. They all want a fingerprint scanner or something that measures the way that you grip the gun, which is apparently the same in all guns, or an RFID ring or wristband that you can wear while shooting the gun. Even if you could guarantee these work 100% of the time, there's still the possibility that a battery will fail, that a EMP of any kind can wipe out the electronics because they're probably not going to be shielded against EMP. And I know you're saying that EMP is not that big of a threat or big of a deal, but you can build an EMP device for $10, $15. It's on the internet. It's on eHow and Instructables and all these places. So it's possible to build these things, and the fact that your firearm can be defeated by a $10 device, and then the criminal who has their own firearm that's not equipped with this smart technology can come and shoot you afterwards because your gun is essentially a club because it's not going to shoot if the electronics are fried. They're talking about the ability with these smart guns to have fire-free zones, in that they can disable, if they build it in right, they can disable through a different RFID signal your gun. So a policeman can have an RFID hidden behind his lapel, and when he's in the area with you, your gun won't work, but his will. And they're talking about doing that with schools, and it's all just additional things that criminals can exploit, and now they know you don't have a gun because the only guns are smart guns. And then you're thinking, oh, what about the old dumb guns? What about my good old Ruger 44 right here? Well, once smart guns hit the market and they become necessary by law, then it's not a very big leap for the anti-gunners or the gun control advocates. Those are especially dangerous, the ones that say, we want you to have guns, we just want you to be safe with them. But what they're really saying is, we want to do everything we can to make it difficult to use that gun. So they can say, oh, well, we have these smart guns out now. They're much safer. So we're not saying you can't have guns, we're just saying you have to have a smart gun. And the technology will be such a way that even if you get your old gun retrofitted with this new technology, it will not be able to fire without that technology. So you can't just take it back from the smart gun retrofit store and go home and take everything out again. I mean, you could, again, there's ways around everything, so you could get welding abilities or get somebody that you know who knows something about gunsmithing and get them to refix it, but then it would be illegal to own a gun that's not a smart gun. So if you got caught by the cops, you're screwed because you've modified your gun illegally. And then again, everybody's got a smart gun except the guys who don't follow the laws. So they're going to wipe out your gun and they're going to come in with all the power. Police already have the ability to use EMP to disable cars, things like that. If it gets to the point where they can do it with guns, I guarantee you every policeman is going to be walking around with an EMP gun that they can just zap at a house and suddenly the guns don't work and will never work again without having those electronics replaced. The last thing I want to talk about is the supposed black box for guns. Because along with all that smart gun technology, they might just slip in there the black box for guns, which essentially records and possibly even transmits to some central database when you fire, where you fire, and how many shots you fire. So at the end of the day, I'm looking at this smart gun and going, they can track me wherever I am, wherever I shoot this thing. On top of that, if they want to, they can disable my gun, either through the RFID technology already built into it, or an EMP, which is even worse. And that's if the thing even shoots because its own technology may be faulty. They're at like 99.9% reliability right now, but that still means one time out of every 1,000, that gun might not go boom when you pull the trigger, which is something I don't want to worry about in the middle of the night when somebody breaks into my house. Now, I'm mostly talking about this because I realized how big of a thing it is in the background over the weekend. And it's not something people are talking about right now. But with technology progressing the way it does, eventually we could see this. New Jersey's already got the law. California tried to do something similar in 2008, but it got shot down because it was too vague or something like that. But the door swings both ways. That I think it was Florida, the first state to actually allow concealed carry, and then all the other states sort of dominoed after it. So as soon as the smart gun comes around, New York, Maine, all the blue states, basically California, Illinois, are going to be the first to adopt smart gun technology because it'll keep people from using guns illegally or using them, for harm. But the thing is, a gun, even with all this smart gun technology, is still not going to know whether it's a good guy pointing the gun at a bad guy or a bad guy pointing the gun at a good guy, or what the situation is. So, I mean, there's a whole community of hackers out there who would break these things just to prove it can be done. Not even for evil intentions, but just for fun and just to prove that it's possible. So, it's pointless. And I'm trying to get the word out before it even becomes a big thing. I know, nobody watches my channel that much. I think my total views are under 100 right now, but I'm hoping if I get big, then I'm just trying to point out to people that this is a thing, and this thing is not good for gun owners. Because, again, all this stuff, even if it works properly and the government's not out to get you and criminals can't get you with it, it could still break or fail, something like that. Because, I have enough trouble checking my smoke alarm for batteries on a regular basis. I don't want to have to check my gun, too, to make sure my gun has batteries that are still working, or whatever. There's a whole slew of bad from this. It sounds great on paper, but it's not great in practice. One thing I forgot to mention with these smart guns is any kind of smart gun technology that relies on user-specific data, such as how you grip the gun, what your fingerprint looks like, whatever, is going to necessitate a registry. And it may not. You might be able to walk in with any gun you have and say, I need myself put into this gun, and they don't put any information into a computer. They just hook the gun up, clear it, and put your thumbprint in there, or whatever. It's possible, but I doubt it. What's more likely to happen is you take it in, they write down your name, they write down the serial number, maybe even the make and model of the gun, and they now have that information. So me and my Glock, now I go over to a gun show and I sell my Glock to Joe Schmo, guy I've never met, but I make sure he's from the same state as me, follow all the laws. Now he needs to go and have it registered. I may or may not need to be there to provide my thumbprint saying, yes, I want this guy to have my gun. So now they know it goes from this guy to Joe Schmo, and on for the entire life of the gun. So, just one last thing, because people always point out it might break, it's fragile, it's unreliable, but even if they get it to work perfectly, and the cops aren't able to exploit it, and criminals aren't able to exploit it, there's still the fact that it will lead to a registration of the guns, even if the government doesn't admit it. It will still happen. One more reason I don't like these things. This is just one man's thoughts.